This is pretty exciting. I get to share these two new grinders with you. Now, Mahlkönig popularized grind by weight, but now they've reinvented it all over again, added a bunch of new features, and this is gonna make cafe owners and baristas' lives a lot easier. This is the Mahlkönig E80W, and this is the Mahlkönig E65W. With these two grinders today, we're gonna be exploring auto calibration, getting rid of arbitrary burr collar adjustments now with electronic burr adjustments, and also the amazing grind by weight system. And we'll even touch on grind by sync, which isn't available in markets yet, but basically your coffee machine and your grinder talk, and the grinder will adjust its grind size based on how your shot pulls. Pretty amazing. So this one's called the E65W because it has 65mm burrs. This is great for smaller cafes or medium-sized cafes. Then we have the E80W, which has 80mm burrs, and this is better for larger sized cafes, basically just because it has a bigger hopper and it grinds a bit quicker, so your workflow is faster. The E65 burrs have a grind life of about 800 kilos, and the hopper can hold 1.2 kilos, and the grinder itself weighs about 12.2 kilos. The E80's burr life is almost double at 1,500 kilos. The hopper can hold 1.8 kilos and the grinder itself weighs about 18 kilos. The grinder switches on at the back, and then everything is controlled from this beautiful touchscreen on the front. You'll notice there are no burr adjustments, so everything is done electronically right here. The machine can save multiple recipes on the side here for different coffee beans, and you can edit them easily. Just select the recipe. You can select the burr distance here. So this is your grind size where you measure it in microns. We'll talk a bit more about this later. Super fine adjustments. And you can even change the dose of your coffee. So we've got ours set here at 21. You can just click in and you can change that to whatever you want. 21, 22. And it also goes to 0.1 of a gram. So super fine adjustments. And then that recipe is saved. The grinder will even let you save the weights of different portafilters. So let's say you had a spouted portafilter and a naked portafilter in your shop. The grinder will auto detect them so you get super accurate readings on your grind by weight. One of the biggest upgrades they've made is they've removed the grind adjustment collar on the top. You know, the ones that would either have notches or just numbers? These numbers were hard to read, a little arbitrary. You might be like, oh, I'm at 4.5 or I'm at 3, and you couldn't be super accurate. It was also super hard to share these grind sizes if you had multiple locations on multiple grinders. 4.5 on one grinder might be completely different on another grinder. Mahlkönig's new model of grinder does all the grind adjustments electronically and measures to the exact micron. They have a new system called DDD. This is their patented distance detection. It's a tongue twister. They basically have lasers inside the grinder that are measuring the distance between the burrs to that micron size. And a micron is 0.001 millimeters. That is tiny. This means you can grind in your coffee to the exact micron, which makes it super easy to dial in at multiple locations on multiple grinders. So you simply go in, use custom disc distance. Once I click OK, you'll hear a whir, and that's the burrs adjusting. So let's change our microns to 316. So cool. So picture it like this. You're a roaster or a head barista. You've got a new blend that you've got for your cafes. You dial it in, you get it tasting great. You can then share that exact micron distance with all of your cafes. They can pop it into their grinder and they're gonna get great results straight away. This leads to less wastage and more consistent results across multiple locations. Now, zeroing out your grinder is a way to calibrate your grinder to keep the shots and the grind size consistent. Basically, it's something you can do where you bring the burrs to the point where they touch. You hear a little chirping as they touch together, and that point is 0.0. So if you had grind adjustments at 0, you'd make it wider, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, on an old grinder, you'd need someone with training, you'd need tools, you'd have to dismantle the whole thing and then manually do it to figure out where the 0 point was. With the new Mahlkönig grinder, you can do it electronically from the screen in just 10 seconds. So I've gone from 10 minutes with training down to 10 seconds with a screen. First, make sure that you close off your hopper And then you want to grind out any of the excess beans that are left inside. To calibrate, simply go into the menu, go to Service, Disk Detection, and click Calibrate. Then follow the screen's prompt, and all you have to do is hold down Grind and twist the knob to bring the burrs closer together. Once you hear a chirping, you've calibrated your grinder to 0, and that took no time at all. This is great because now anyone can do it, no training needed, in just 10 seconds. It's also really important to do it because if you're sharing micron adjustments for your grind size, if your grinder isn't zeroed out, they're not going to be accurate from grinder to grinder. And of course, the grinders are grind by weight. Now, grinding by time isn't great because there are so many variables and you're going to end up wasting a lot more coffee. When you know the exact dose, you can more accurately follow recipes and dial in. So you can create a new recipe on the screen and you can select the exact dose that you want out. And you can even adjust to 0.1 gram. And it's the loading cell here that's going to weigh your portafilter and measure your dose. And it's so accurate that it measures the weight 6,000 times every second. And it always measures to 0.1 gram accuracy, 20.9. For the coffee we're using, the E80W weighs it out in just 3.8 seconds. Now that's grinding lightning fast, and you can see why it needs to weigh your coffee 6,000 times a second to get its accuracy. Now let's do the math on that. It's weighing the coffee over 20,000 times in the duration of grinding, which is wild. So if you want to talk about workplace efficiency, someone orders a double espresso, 3.8 second grind time, take it out, pop it in a puck press, in the machine, and 27 seconds later, we've already got the double espresso made. Coffee made in under a minute. It's pretty good. Yum. One of the coolest features that this grinder has isn't even available yet. I don't even know if I'm meant to be talking about it, but I'm going to. We'll see what happens. It's not only grind by weight, but it's grind by sync, so it can sync up through the cloud with compatible espresso machines. Basically what that means is they communicate and give each other feedback to dial in. So you pull a shot of coffee on your espresso machine, and depending on how the shot pulls, the espresso machine tells the grinder to adjust its grind. If it pulls too fast, it tells the grinder to adjust finer. If it pulls too slow, it tells the grinder to adjust more coarse. So if our brew recipe was going to be 21 grams of coffee and 42 grams of espresso out, we set our espresso machine to give out 42 grams of water. So in our grind by sync recipe, we go into edit. You can pick the dose that you want, 21 grams, and then you can also select the brew time you want, 27 seconds. So the grinder is going to keep adjusting itself until it hits the perfect ratio. So let's make a shot. Now I can see this shot ran fast in about 17 seconds. So let's see if we adjust finer on the screen. There you go, it's just adjusted itself finer. That might be good to go from 18-25. This shot was a lot closer, but it could still go a little finer, so let's see if it adjusts. That is a way better looking shot. We have a beautiful thin stream. And there we have a perfectly dialed in shot. This is an absolute game changer because now you can A, dial in the mornings quicker, and B, throughout service, you don't have to stop and check where your grind size is at and how it's going. The machine is auto-adjusting in live time throughout the day, giving you perfectly consistent shots the entire day. This is also great for baristas with maybe less training and really helps you dial in and give you a better offering at the cafe. I really feel like Mahlkönig have made some giant leaps here with these grinders to really cement themselves as one of the best in the business. I feel like all the features like the quick calibration, the electronic burr adjustments, and the grind by weight are really going to help out cafes with workflow and efficiency, with the consistency of shots, with wastage, and also with staff training, because you're going to have a lot more people that are going to be able to make great coffees without needing to know all the ins and outs. Now, there are going to be some people that argue this loses the art of dialing in and tasting, but I think that there are just some cafes that need this type of technology to help with wastage, cost, and also staff training. I think there's just some places where it's a necessity. I'm thinking about a World Barista Champion. Imagine they brewed a certain coffee to win the championship. They can then send that coffee out to multiple cafes, even around the world, send them the recipes, and they can dial it in to exactly how they served it. And finally, grind by sync, because it hasn't been launched. I'll be interested to see how that goes, what machines become compatible with it, what launches. But from my general use of it, it's bloody awesome, and I hope that we see it roll out across a few different machines. Coffee, yo. I'm not pointing at things. Videos. No, grinders or videos. Bye. I can't go lower.
Drop it, that's hot.
I can't.